Bolshevik Revolution with any inputs into our conspiratorial view of reality here?
One thing is sure, I didn't. Now, indeed, the situation in Germany was comparable to the situation you have in the moment in the USA. It was not as worse as my co-speaker here mentioned, but the Germans were eating out of garbage cans, at least not all of them. But they had a major economical crisis like you have in the moment in the USA. And this situation, whenever we look in history, was the best ground for a fascist dictatorship to take over power. So when the economy goes down, if you have so many million people out of work, as you definitely have in the moment, be careful. Be careful, because these people are absolutely dissatisfied, and they possibly are looking for a strong leader who takes them out of this situation. So whenever this situation of economy is manipulated, it doesn't happen by itself. And indeed, these people who have a few $1 million on the bank accounts in Switzerland, in Swiss francs, they are earning the most out of it. And because the American dollar compared to the franken, the Swiss currency, in the last 7 years, lost 50% of its value. I can say from the Deutschmark in 1985, for example, in 1985 or 1988, the American dollar was about 3 Deutschmarks. In the moment, it is 139. So if these people in 1985 transferred, for example, $1 billion to Switzerland, changed it in Swiss franken, they doubled it now, up to now. If they change it back to American dollars, they are getting now 2 billion American dollars, and this is quite a profit in 5 years. So there are people who really make profit and who can make profit with the weak American dollar and the catastrophic American economical situation right now. If I follow the history of George Walker Bush, there are some remarkable correlations. Remember the Bay of Pig affair. The code name of the Bay of Pig affair was Operation Zapata. And at this time, George Walker Bush was the head of a cover company called Zapata Oil Company. And the major ship involved in the Bay of Pig affair had the name Barbara. Do you know who Barbara Bush is? Of course you know. So the first memorandum sent to a CIA official after the JFK assassination on November 22nd, I think it was, 22nd or 23rd, please correct me. 22nd, okay. November 22nd, 1963, went to Mr. George W. Bush from the Central Intelligence Agency. Isn't it strange? Indeed, the operatives of the Operation Zapata and the JFK assassination were nearly the same people, including Mr. Hunt from the CIA, the guy who lost the lawsuit in Florida in the 1970s against the Liberty Lobby. The Liberty Lobby publishing the magazine Spotlight, published an article by Victor Marchetti, a former CIA agent, who claimed in this article that a CIA operative named Hunt, I don't know the first name, I don't remember the first name, I think George Hunt or something like that, Mr. Hunt, H-U-N-T, was the CIA coordinator of the JFK assassination, and that he was in Dallas at the time and whatever, and Mr. Hunt sued against the Liberty Lobby as the publishers of the Spotlight magazine, and he claimed he was in Washington, D.C., and his family and his children were witnesses. Unfortunately, he never presented his children or his wife as witnesses on court, what is quite strange. Indeed, one time he mentioned that he had a discussion with his children who attacked him because they believed he could have been involved in the JFK assassination, and he claimed in front of the court that this was one of the damages created through the Spotlight article, but his children and his family do not trust him anymore. So if they were present in Washington when they watched the JFK assassination on TV, how can they accuse him of being involved in it? And indeed, this lawsuit was won by the Liberty Lobby, and there's a fantastic book published about it called Plausible Denial. This book is not available in the USA anymore because nobody wanted to publish it. I bought it in London, in England. It is published by a British publisher. And, well, in this book you find a lot of interesting facts, and you find the clear evidence that the CIA and this division involved in the Operation Zapata was also involved in the JFK assassination, and that the same people active in the Operation Zapata were active in the JFK assassination. So George Walker Bush indirectly or directly had to do with the JFK assassination. And now, what the Americans did 12 years ago, they elected for President Ronald Reagan, who was a nice puppet, and the strings were in the hand of George Walker Bush. And he was president for the USA for 12 years. And this is, he is nearly the king of the USA. A president being in the office for 12 years is something. And if he is re-elected, if he will be re-elected, and we all pray that he will not, he was president more or less because Ronald Reagan, was just operated by him for 16 years. And he was the former director of the Central Intelligence Agency, a Gestapo-like organization. This is fine. As a German, I wonder how you can survive in this country. Who financed Adolf Hitler? Indeed, the German industry did. The Social Democratic Party of Germany published a very interesting cartoon about Adolf Hitler in 1931 in the election campaigns. Adolf Hitler, had this hand movement always, and he said, "Millions are standing behind me." And you see a hand coming from the background, the banker's hand, you see the suit and everything, and having millions of Deutschmark in the hand, or Reichsmark at that time, millions of Reichsmark in the hand, and Hitler made this movement to get it. So millions were standing behind me. It is sure that these people who financed Adolf Hitler, including the Krupp Company, including the Flick Company and other leading major German companies, also financed the West German government right now. And a few years ago, we had a big affair because the entire federal government, including Helmut Kohl, Otto Graf Lambsdorff, Hans-Dietrich Genscher, and all the sons of bitches who are our German government in the moment, were financed by the Flick Company. All German parties got millions of Deutschmark by the Flick Company, so they were still manipulated the German policy. And you will see how Germany reacted against the protest of all our citizens in the Gulf War, and paying $8 billion to America and not getting back the $4 million they didn't need. We can always say, my God, Germany was involved on both sides. Of course, we traded weapons to Saddam Hussein. We sent money to George Bush. We sent money to Saudi Arabia. We sent money to Israel. And everybody was fighting on our cost, meaning the taxpayers' cost in Germany, and meaning the monetary funds given by the big companies, who on the other hand are earning by selling weapons. Who financed Adolf Hitler? The bankers did. The bankers did, but not only the German bankers, but the international companies, and they were organized in the Freemason lodges. And not all Freemason lodges were arrested and put into the concentration camps, only those who did not finance Adolf Hitler. Indeed, in the Freemasonry, we have a wide field, and we have concurring organizations. And we have the so-called Grand Lodge of England, and we have the Scotch Rite high degree Freemasons, which originated from the Knight Templars after the fight against the Templars by the Papal forces and the French king, Philip the Beautiful. He is called in the history books Philip the Beautiful, I don't know why. Some of them escaped to Scotland and merged into the Johannite communities there, and indeed reappeared in history as promoters of the Stuart dynasty, and later in the British Revolutions and whatever, and from there started and financed the French Revolution. So these are the Scotch Rite high-degree mercenary orders, but as a concurrence to them, the Protestant Church of England promoted another kind of order, the so-called Grand Lodge of London, and so we have two groups of Freemasons, and only one group, the group associated with the Grand Lodge of England, was arrested and put into concentration camps, but a high-degree Freemasons, the Scotch Rite Freemasons, they could operate in the Third Reich. Not many of you know what the word SS really means. According to our history books, SS means Schutzstaffel, what means protection crew, or however you translate it, protection service. But indeed it means, and the esoteric name was Black Sun. And Black Sun, Schwarze Sonne in German. Of course, Black Sun doesn't give SS, but Schwarze Sonne is the German terminology. And do you know that Adolf Hitler got his so-called inspiration to become the German leader when he stood in front of the Spear of Destiny in the Vienna Hofburg in, I think it was 1920, about 1920, in the Schatzkammer of the Vienna Hofburg, right? And the first thing he did before he started World War II was that he invaded Austria and got the Holy Lance, or the Spear of Destiny. The spear, according to mythology, was the spear touched with the blood of Jesus, and brought it to... Yeah?
The first place he visited was
Yeah, the first, of course.
Spent a whole night alone in the museum.
That's right. And then the spear was taken to Nuremberg, and Nuremberg was the site of the big Parteitage of the NSDAP, of the National Socialist Workers' Party. Parteitag means party day. And the only man who could operate, who had the black magic education to operate with the Spear of Destiny, was a guy called Heydrich. And he was the leading guy in the SS, and later he became the Reichsprotectorate. And Reich was the German Empire. And when Heydrich was assassinated in 1942, the fate of the Third Reich made a 180-degree turn, and after that we had Stalingrad and everything, and Hitler was defeated 3 years later. So everybody was amazed about the power of the German army between 1939 and 1942. Adolf Hitler really seemed to be undefeatable. One blitzkrieg after another, and one country defeated after another, and suddenly in 1942 his luck, his war luck, suddenly disappeared, and he was defeated by one army after the other, and one battle after another. So what happened? Indeed, Heydrich was killed, the only guy who really was able to operate the Spear of Destiny, because according to this hundreds of years old legend, whoever has the Spear of Destiny has the fate of the world in his hands. And if you use it, it is like the art of convenance. If you use it in a war, you're undefeatable. You're definitely undefeatable. And Heinrich Himmler was the Reichsleader of the Black Sun Order, or SS, and he chose the triangular castle in Wewelsburg near Paderborn in Germany as the seat of the Black Sun Order. I'm talking about the SS, and there are plans even published. I gave away all the copies of my magazine, unfortunately, but we published it in my magazine now. We plan. He wanted to widen. He wanted to make this castle being the city of a really SS colony, and the triangle was planned to be the head of the spear. And all the architectural plans of this city he wanted to build around the Weber's castle had to form with alleys and everything of a spear. And the Weber's castle, they had an underground chamber where the leaders of the SS performed black magic rituals. And on the ground of this central room was a relief of the black sun symbol, as we know it from ancient Tibet. It is elaborated. Unfortunately, we don't have a cupboard here. It is an elaborated form of swastika, not with 4 but with 8 Balkans. So, indeed, black magic played quite a big role, and it was one of the reasons why the gypsies were put in the concentration camps, was that they all predicted that if Germany is starting a war, after some years it will be defeated and many, many people will die and the country will be totally destroyed. And indeed, the beginning of the gypsy assassination in the concentration camps was these predictions. It started like a witch hunting in the Middle Ages, And they first arrested the clairvoyant gypsies and later all the rest of the gypsies because they had clairvoyant genetic material, all of them, and they became a danger for the normal Germans.